In last class, we discussed access members of a class topic. So, we see here example employee, public class employee, private int employee ID, private string name, private string department email. So, these are all members. Members are located in private and these are functions will be placed in public. Public void get data int id string n string d string e id name department email. So employee example, we can write this here itself for clear explanation. I took employee example, public class employee example, public static void main string args, employee even equal to new employee, object of employee, it creates object, employee e2 equal to new employee, employee e3 equal to new employee, even dot employee id, even dot name department email. I told you to access field and method we use I gave you sports bicycle as example, sports bicycle dot gear dot braking. So here is the employee example. To get data, we use the method even.display, e2.display, e3.display. Run it. See here. We got the output ID, name, department, email, so on so. And to clear you more, let's see one more example. Rectangle. Public class rectangle, private int length, private int width, fields or members, instance variable. These members are located in private. So we use private void set value. Like if you take TV, set volume, we use methods there, set volume, not set, increase volume, decrease volume. Like in same way, when we take car as example, lights on, lights off, like that. Here in rectangle, void set value is the method. Next in area, return length into width. Example, public class, public static void main string args, rectangle R1 equal to new rectangle, objects, these are all methods, set value, print, area, 200, 900, 1200. Values we give 10, 20, 60, 15, 40, 30. Length into breadth. That's the logic there. Now I will explain you about constructors. Mm, Constructor in Java. A constructor is similar to a method that is invoked when an object of the class is created. Constructor is a special method that is used to initialize an object. Every class has a constructor, either implicitly or explicitly. A constructor has same name as the class name in which it is declared. Constructor must have no explicit written type. In Java, constructor cannot be abstract, static, final. See here syntax of constructor. If you take students, public class students, it's the name of the class. The name of the class is constructor here. Student, this is the constructor with the same name of class. New student, it's object creation and value initialization. So here I give I written see there student is the name of the constructor which is the same as the name of the class, and objects in Java are created using the keyword new. Example, let's take class car. This is the constructor. The name of class is written as the constructor. String name, string model, name model. Types. There are two types: default, parameterized constructor. Default constructor in Java, a default constructor is said to be default constructor. Constructor in Java, a constructor is said to be default if it does not have any parameter, can be either user defined or provided by JVM. If a class does not contain any constructor, then during runtime, JVM generates a default constructor, which is known as system defined default constructor. If a class contains a constructor with no parameter, then it is known as default constructor defined by user. In this case, JVM does not create default constructor. See example. This is what default constructor. Demo1 object equal to new demo. If we do not give any parameter, then it's called default constructor. User defined default constructor. Constructor which is defined in the class by the programmer is known as user defined default constructor. See this. This is the user defined default constructor. Class add demo int a b values c equal to a plus b default constructor total string args add demo1 equal object equal to new add demo1. This is the default user defined default constructor. So difference between constructor versus method. Constructor block of code initiate a newly created object, and method collection of statements always return a value depends upon its execution. These are invoked implicitly, invoked explicitly. Does not have return type, may return any value. It should be same as class name. It should not same as class name. Then no constructor, then the default constructor is created by the compiler itself. In case of method, there is no default method provided. Example, see here, public class student. These are the fields int, roll number, string name, and constructor same as class name student, system.out.println constructor created. Void display method. So public class student example, public static void main string args student s1 equal to new student s1 dot display. Here it displayed constructor created roll number name. Name I didn't give any, so it's shown null. Here it is name null. Next one more example. Public class employee, private int employee ID, private string name. I already told that members are written in private, so this is what that non-parameterized constructor employee. So it is called default constructor. Employee ID 1 name test. This is parameterized constructor. Here we give parameters int id string n. So it is parameterized constructor. and it is also employee int id, default, void show method, system.out.println, employee id name, and this override line is automatically given by the these IntelliJ ID. We don't need to bother about that. And protected void finalized throws throwable system.out.println destructor. So this is called constructor overloading. Here the void finalize throws throwable super dot finalize. We will get clear idea when I explain you about super keyword and throws. I will explain you about that in next class. So here is the output.